Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour. Unfortunately, we were unable to do the style that we've done for the past, 3 or 4 Power Hours, the one we like, where we're side by side. Conflicting schedules, a whole shit ton going on, and I might as well announce it. My daughter was born in September, so that's why you've noticed a whole decrease in activity on our YouTube page. So, with 2 kids, I'm balls busy. And, yeah.
So between 2 kids and your hurt neck, shit.
Yeah. And,
rotator cuff.
Yeah, and then the update on that is...
Brian's on drugs.
It's a herniated disc, and I don't take drugs, and that's the problem. It hurts all the time. They want me to get surgery. I'm not going to get surgery. So, just in pain. So, yeah, a lot of shit going on. But either way, glad to be back. I definitely can use this beer right now. So, Jim, I'll let you go ahead and explain what you're drinking while I sip away.
Yeah, it is good to have you back. Running this site on my own is a fucking pain in the ass.
I know. All we're putting up is shitty pinball game reviews.
I will say this right now, though. Doing all this on my own, it's given me an appreciation for all the editing you have to do. Because me getting rid of my awful verbal transitions and my and my ands and that little click I do with my tongue. Ugh.
Don't forget the classic whelp.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, there's a lot of them too. So
yeah, your audio files turn into a mishmash as I go through them, and I have to edit a lot of your mistakes out.
Yours aren't the only one. But yeah, tonight I'm keeping it simple because I once again have a lot of leftover beer in my fridge. So I got some Bud Light Lime going tonight. Nothing fancy, nothing special.
I'm glad you're appreciating this fall weather, Jim, with a good, good.
Well, we just went from like 80 to 50 out of nowhere over like 3 days. So I'm like, oh, why not enjoy a nice, cold, refreshing summer beer for this?
Well, no shocker here.
Because I know how to plan this shit out.
I'm drinking something better than Jim. I'm going with the Brooklyn Post Road Pumpkin Ale. This was left over from a party I had. So to do my bit that I always do, and Jim doesn't do at all. In the 18th century, colonial Americans
of a bitch
brewed wonderful and interesting ales using local ingredients. Barley was the principal ingredient, but pumpkins were favored by the brewers for their rich, spicy flavors, which melded perfectly with malted barley. Post Road brings you a delicious rendition of this traditional American classic. And as far as pumpkin beers go, it's solid. It's nothing amazing, but it's 5%, so it's more of a session pumpkin beer. Super easy to drink, and I'm already almost on my first one. I'm going to be moving on to my second one pretty soon. All right, so.
Sounds solid.
We got a lot of shit to get through today, so we'll try to not...
This is a big fucking list we have.
It's been beefy. We've, since we've been off for a little bit, a lot has happened. So, as we've done the past couple podcasts, let's first go ahead and go through all the winners. I'll get the beer ones out of the way first. The first would be the New Jersey Brewery, the best New Jersey brewery. And I gotta say, we love that we had some interaction with some of the actual breweries. Actually, one of them... the Cape May Brewing Company reached out and had us swap out for the correct label because apparently the label we were using was wrong. So there was a lot more interaction with this one, and we really appreciated it. But yeah, Jim, did you look at the winner?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
So, not surprisingly for anyone that's in the New Jersey or PA area, Cape May kind of ran away with this one. Now, I will say they were also the primary ones who promoted the bracket, which thank you guys very much. But they make some damn delicious beers, and anyone I know who's from Jersey, it usually is their number one preferred brewery to go to.
Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I've been there once. For the life
here.
of me, I can't remember which beers I tried from there, but I remember leaving there going, I really like kind of everything I tried there. Admittedly, though, I'm not as... The PA brewery, I knew a lot more. This one, I was a little more... I had to do some research to really fill in this bracket. For the sake of time, I'll just say the top 5 that won. So number 2, Flying Fish, which actually is probably the more well-known brewery. I feel like they have a distribution that's a little further reaching than almost everything else on this list. So not shocked to see them at number 2. Number 3, River Horse, was really close to Flying Fish. Flying Fish just edged it out a little bit, and they're another one that I pretty much like everything I've tried from them. Kane Brewing Company. This is one of the ones I've never actually tried anything, but everyone I know from Jersey really seems to like their stuff, so seems to have shown through this bracket. And finally, number 5, the Village Idiot Brewing Company. Now, Jim, I don't know. I mean, I know pretty much what you drink and how you drink. From those top 5, how many of those have you actually tried?
I have definitely had Flying Fish. God damn it, why do I have it set up as like the actual bracket and not just listed?
You can just go. You can go over to results at the top right now.
Oh yeah, there we go.
God
I'm
damn
a
it,
professional. I'm a professional broadcaster. God damn it. Now I've had a little bit of River Horse. Kane, I don't think I've ever had anything from. I've had maybe 1 or 2 from Village Idiot. So there's a lot of ones here that I have had before. Number 7, Triumph. Is that the one that has the place up in New Hope too?
Yeah,
and
they
used to have one down in Center City.
They had one down in Center City and failed. That was a brewery that never really impressed me at all. I'll be honest. Generally don't want to talk too much shit about breweries because we know it's hard work, but man, I just wasn't blown away. I don't know if it was just that night when we went to the one in Philly that did close down, but yeah, just never did much for me.
Yeah, it's not like the beers were bad or anything, but they weren't special. Yeah. I've been to the one in New Hope too, and like I'll say probably the food's better than the beer. Not saying the beer's bad, but the food I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And the beer I was like, oh, this is an IPA.
Yeah, one I was glad to see so high on the list is Forgotten Boardwalk. They make the funnel cake beer, which is goddamn delicious. Ooh. I mean, just the name, that name alone, and for some reason, if anybody out there doesn't know what funnel cake is, you poor bastard, go out, go to any circus, go to any carnival, or go to a boardwalk, and you can probably find it. But the beer manages to taste like that without all the extra... the fryer shit. What's the word I'm looking for? Not grease. You know what I'm saying? The actual fryer taste.
Yeah. Without like the oil, basically.
Yeah, like no oily flavor. It actually just has a lot of vanilla, a good amount of cream. So that is probably the most standout, well-known beer from that brewery. Now going to the bottom 5. I'll be honest, I don't truly know any of these breweries, but coming in at 28, we have the Rin Duin Brewing. 29, the Harvest Moon Brewery. 30, High Point Brewing Company. 31, the Long Valley Pub and Brewery. And 32, the Cold Spring Brewery. Yeah, before making this list, didn't hear of any of them. And with Jersey, it was a little more interesting because I think they only have 88 breweries. So getting the 32 was, you probably hit all the top ones within the top 20 of this list.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And
apparently my mic's cutting out.
Oh, what, on Twitch?
On Twitch, yeah.
That's fine. As long as I can sync it up, we'll be okay. But from those top 5, or bottom 5, I should say, had you heard of any of them before this, Jim?
I can't really say I have. I mean, I was looking at these and I was just like, yeah, I'm probably not voting for this.
Yeah, you're not hating on it. You don't know it.
I just don't know it, yeah. I mean, there's so many freaking breweries in New Jersey that...
I mean, clearly...
What am I going to Jersey? Come on now.
Clearly,
good breweries in a shitty state. Let's be honest here.
With our superstar status on Twitter, I mean, obviously we're going to knock these guys up in popularity, and they can thank us by sending us some beer. So, you're welcome.
Well, I mean...
Jim, get promoted.
You have a beefy 10,000 followers. I'll start whoring. I got to whore more.
So, once again, what we will probably get back to, just like we did with the PA beers, now with the top brewers that made it on this list, we'll go back, do the top beer from those breweries and kind of figure out what's the best beer from Jersey. And then we'll move on to other states. So if you are a fan of us and you're wondering when we're going to get to you, we will, just in time. Anything else before we move on, Jim?
Nah, not too much I can really add in on this one. I mean, I knew some of the beers here, but obviously not anything compared to what's convenient for me to get to, so a lot of them look like they're solid. Now, do we use this bracket as a transition into a certain New Jersey beer-related story while we're on the subject?
We'd keep going
Would make goddamn sense?
Nah, we can wait.
God damn. Alright, yeah, that's not make sense. Fuck.
Fine, we'll go into it, Jim. So one of the things that we had marked down, and this was a couple weeks ago, the article we're looking at is from NJ.com. It was published on September 25th. And essentially, as I mentioned, the 88 craft breweries, the title is NJ's 88 craft breweries were having too much fun, so the state just slapped new rules on them. To sum it up, the state is looking to crack down on what brewery owners are allowed to do on their premises, which includes them needing to obtain more special permits and limiting them to the number of special events. Now, this means things like bringing food trucks, having game nights, having, paint and sip nights, trivia nights, all those things. And yeah, it limits them to 52 private parties, which can be birthdays, weddings, anniversary a year. They have to notify this commission essentially 10 days prior to holding any events. And they have 12 special permits per year where they can sell products off the brewery premises, like at festivals and whatnot. The only thing they really seem to gain from this is the ability to sell items such as water, soda, pre-packaged crackers, snacks, all types of things like that. And customers can bring their own food into there. In general, it's being looked at as a pretty negative situation for the brewers. In Jersey in particular, they don't have as long a history of craft breweries. In fact, it's, I believe, somewhere in here. I'd have to do a little digging. But in 2012, a lot of state laws were relaxed, which allowed the growth of a significant number of these breweries. This, they are fearing, is going to cut back on that popularity and really affect them in the long run. I don't know what to say other than, of course, I think it sucks. I don't get the point of limiting special events. I can, I guess in some holistic way, understand that if they're forcing other similar venues to adhere to these laws, they're probably just saying, like, okay, well, we got to make these breweries adhere to it as well. But I don't get why you would need to do any of that. And I really don't get why you would not allow restaurants or food trucks to come in and provide food for people drinking beer, because that stops them from getting as drunk as they should. So, doesn't make as much sense to me. I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
New Jersey's just allergic to fun. You can't even have nipples and beer in the same building.
This is true. But, I mean, I don't know. Did you read any further into it? I mean, we know it's ridiculous, but I don't know. Like,
I didn't read any further into it from the article.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it just... I don't get it. Why are you going to try and make it harder for local businesses to be successful? Like, it's just, they have weird rules over there about this kind of stuff. And about, like, they really have a problem with alcohol. With, like, not per se a problem, but they're really strict on what you can do with it. And
like, I can get...
thing that's always seemed to be the thing.
Yeah,
Which is funny, because they used to, like, 30 years ago, be the place where everyone from PA would drive to, because you could be 18 and buy beer there. So you can be 18 and buy beer there before, but now they're all of a sudden, we're Mr. Control Alcohol.
As with all politics, it's probably some jackass wanting to really put his name out there that he passed something or did something. I really don't get it, and I would love if someone could explain it a little further. I did read like a couple articles that linked into this. I didn't find a more legit reason other than this is just them trying to make them adhere to, what constitute permissible activities that takes place on similar establishments, which that's a pretty lame idea for me. But okay. So I don't know what's going to come out of this. The number one thing, and we'll get into this with another topic later, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that big beer and
all these money
macro brews are basically trying to have this thrown on there to really suppress the craft brewery scene, to stop, the sales that are probably getting hurt by all these budding craft breweries. So who knows if that's true, but I'm always entertained with a good, conspiracy theory, so we'll see. We'll keep looking at this. I know there's a few petitions in a way to try and block this. I don't think there's been a lot of footwork on this since this was published, but we'll bring it back up in future Power Hours to see where it goes.
Yeah, we signed it. They had like an out-of-state option to sign this, so
yeah. So
if we're gonna make the trip over there, you might as well have some goddamn fun.
Yeah, I hope for NJ Brewery's sake, this doesn't happen to you guys. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a weird time. Like, I guess something got too successful, so it's time to crack down on it. God forbid.
For sure. So, yeah, if anyone has any more intel on this or can shed some light, please do. Otherwise, we're going to move on to another bracket, and it is another beer bracket, which actually just finished this Sunday. The top pumpkin beer, or best pumpkin beer, I guess, technically. Very interesting. Pumpkin beers, me and Jim have talked about, I don't know how many times on the site. We don't get the hate for it. Yeah, we don't get the hate for it. Some people still hate it. Some people comment they can't stand it still, even when they saw we put up this bracket. Regardless, for those of you who do enjoy pumpkin beer, we had a pretty eclectic list here, and I really reached out and wanted to go across the country. I was going to take this to 64, but I said, no, let me just limit it to 32, because I didn't want to get anything too obscure out there for people. Jim, have you already looked at the winners?
Looking at them right now.
Yeah. So for us, I don't know about the rest of the country.
Neck and neck.
This was zero surprise as far as what was going to be 1 and 2. And Jim, I didn't even ask you, for this bracket, what did you pick as your winner?
For this one, I'm pretty sure I did pumpkin.
Okay. And I did Weyerbacher. And the winner was Pumpkin, which from Southern Tier, that is honestly, and I just had this discussion with someone I work with today, one of the most decisive of the pumpkin beers, and commonly used an example of a beer with like too much going on, a ton of flavor. Jim's wife's friend Amanda likes to say it feels like fall came in her mouth. So yeah, this is one
that
of those.
Must have really stuck out with you.
I mean, she said it so many times and then commented on it when we did the review for it. So yeah, the way she said it in that way definitely stuck out. Because I was like, wow, who would say it like that?
That's an ad slogan right there.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, a dude I work with just was at some event where they did blind pumpkin beer tasting, and he was shocked to find out his least favorite was Pumpkin when he was blind testing, even though he's someone who goes to, like, whenever he goes to a party and wants to bring a pumpkin beer, he usually brings that. So he's like, that's kind of weird. But, yeah, it's number one, and I think most people really know it well. It has one of the coolest labels. And, yeah, Southern Tier just makes quality shit, and this is the beer they're best well known for. So, number 2 was Weyerbacher, which is mine, and apparently a lot of people's favorite, like Jim said. By one vote, it lost. So, it's right there. That has a shit ton more subtle flavor. It's a little bit stronger. But like everything from Weyerbacher, I love the shit out of it. So, Definitely can't go wrong. Number 3, for me, is a little bit controversial. And me and Jim talked about this one, too. Dogfish Head Punked, right? Or Pumpkin Ale. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, when you read this label, you would think every flavor under the sun is there. And then you try it, and you're like, actually just kind of reminds you of like a brown ale. Like, not bad, just not as much flavor as advertised. So, yeah, but we know a lot of people who love it, so not really shocked.
It's funny, too, because... Yeah, it's funny because a couple of years ago, like, especially when we did a review for it, like, that was, like, the hottest beer out there at the time. We're talking, like, 2014-ish year, 2014. And, yeah, like, that was the one everyone's like, oh, this is the pumpkin beer. This is one of the best beers ever, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, I mean, it still did high on our list, but got way less votes overall, but just got a lot of higher votes.
Yeah. Number 4, a beer I really love, and I guess this bracket proved me wrong. I thought it was underrated and people didn't know as well, but the Shipyard pumpkin beer, that's just one that's really solid and can get overlooked for Pumpkin or Weyerbacher, but it shouldn't be because it's damn good. Number 5, this is a brewery that I think moving forward with all of our brewery brackets is going to be high. The Sam Adams 20 pounds of pumpkin. It's good. Don't get me wrong. I do like it. It's great for more casual beer. But, man, Sam Adams just knocks it out of the park every time we do these brackets.
I mean, it's so well known. It's the most macro without being macro, so people don't instantly hate on it.
True. Yeah. But either way, definitely it's a good beer. So not trying to hate on it. Just, yeah, I'm shocked it's this high compared to some of the others. I might as well mention coming in at number 6 is the beer I'm having right now, which is the Brooklyn Post Road. As I said, it's a better session pumpkin beer than the rest of these. The flavor isn't as high on the list, which is important for me, but apparently not as important for others. Damn good beer, just like I said, depends what you're looking for from your pumpkin beer.
Yeah, a lot of the big names rounded out the top 10, like Elysian and Ballast Point and Harpoon, stuff like that. I'm actually kind of surprised to see Blue Moon at number 11, because I know for us and for probably a lot of people out there, that was almost like a gateway drug kind of beer, especially not only for craft beer, but for, pumpkin beer as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's another one I think overlooked, because some people have stupid hatred for Blue Moon, because God forbid, whatever.
It's owned by Coors.
Yeah, but no, that's perfectly good pumpkin beer. Now at the bottom, I'll be honest. Did I try? Okay, I've tried one of these. So at 28, we have Allagash Brewing's Ghoul Ship. I think that's how you say it. Never had that one. Number 29, Flying Dog the Fear. I've had that, and I've said multiple times on the site. Flying Dog is one of those breweries where they have like a handful of like really good beers and then a whole lot of subpar, just average beers. I don't know what it is. They have a really cool art style, as I've said many times on here. But their beers just fail to impress, and I guess this kind of proves it. Number 30, Blue Point Mother Pumpkin Ale. Never had it.
Nope.
Number 31, Coney Island. Which, when I was putting this list together, that was on like everyone else's list of best pumpkin beer. So I'm kind of shocked it wasn't higher. But like Jim and I said, we'd never even heard of it prior to this. And then finally, 32, Schleifly Pumpkin. I don't know. How would you even say that?
Schleifly? Rattling? Like sheep's wool?
It's kind of like school Skly-fi, or I don't know. Either way, we're stupid. Listen, I can be honest with our stupidity. Yeah, so that one got barely any votes. Pumpkin beer, once again, it's an odd thing. It's still not fully accepted, but obviously by the amount of votes we got, it's still mainstream enough where people know it, and we're really happy to see two of our favorites were in the top two, really. So, anything else on this?
I mean, there's just a general hatred for pumpkin stuff in general, even though people buy the shit out of it every year. So, it's that thing. It's the thing that's easy to hate on because it's so popular. And
Jim, is it because people are so basic who drink it?
No, it's because beer snobs are cunts. That's why. God forbid it's something with flavor.
Yeah, people for sure do not, don't like anything that can get too popular, God forbid.
No, if it doesn't taste like a tree branch, then it's not real beer. Yes.
So, let us know what you think. If you hate pumpkin beer or love it, or are you shocked by the picks? I'd be more shocked by anyone who really likes pumpkin beer and is in the know if they were expecting one of these others to take the top lead. Because, like I said, for Jim and I think it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, just under 500 votes on that one, so not the most popular one, so it's probably one where people saw it and went, pumpkin, I'm not even going to vote.
There was a lot of people who wrote that in, which I'm not, once again, not shocked about. People hate on it.
Right.
All right. So, our final bracket we're going to talk about, and one I'm way more excited about. I was hoping we were going to get a chance to explain this one with a podcast, but as I said, due to schedules and everything else that happened, weren't able to. But I was putting together the list for the best horror video game, and I found myself really quickly like, holy shit. I'm way more than 64 games, which that's the limit for the bracket, the way we do the system. And then I quickly realized, like, man, I really need to split these up. And I was trying to, like, okay, maybe I'll pare it down to the bare minimum 64. Couldn't do that. And then even getting it down to, 64, maybe a 32, couldn't do that. So at one point I just said, you know what, I'm going to find a generation to just cut it off and say from here forward, this is bracket 1, then do another bracket, pick the top 16 winners from both of those, and have them compete against each other in the final bracket. So it's kind of like older generation, which goes up to the PS1, which is this part 1 that we just completed, or 2 weeks ago, and then all PS2 generation and forward for the current bracket that's going on, and voting ends on Sunday. So, with all that shit being said, Jim, were you shocked at all by the winner of this first bracket?
Actually, well, first I want to say thank you for the 2,100 total votes that came in for this one. A very popular bracket. And to answer your question, nah, not really. Actually, when you look at the top 5, there's no... Maybe number 2, I'd say, just because it's maybe not a traditional horror game, but outside of that, I mean, it's just such an all-time game, I guess, then what are you going to do? But, I mean, any one of these games, really.
And let me address something before we go into the winners. It was really tough for me to pick what's horror, what's not horror. I tried to keep it fair, but some people might feel I left some things out. I think I was tended to be a little more inclusive than I probably should have been. But I wanted to make sure like I really grasped anything that could be considered horror. So with that being said, this one I'll give a proper top 10. And I'll go from number 10 down. And Jim, just jump in on any of them, but I'll probably just kind of go through. Coming in number 10, we have Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Obviously the one that changed the style of all Castlevanias moving forward to that Metroidvania style. Yeah. So not shocked about that. Number 9, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, a classic, part of the great trilogy, so wasn't shocked there. Number 8 shocked the shit out of me, to be honest. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. For those of you who don't know, that's a Ghosts and Goblins sequel on the Super NES. It's a good game, solid, but how it beat out some of the others in this list is kind of beyond me, so...
Actually, because I'll say for that one, because it's a good game on top of having all the horror elements. This next one, I don't know how the hell this made top 10.
Jesus Christ. Number 7 is Friday the 13th on the NES, which...
Why?
The only thing I can say is probably people who absolutely love nostalgia. And let's face it, the NES doesn't exactly have a good library of horror games. And I captured almost every horror game on the NES in this bracket. What's funny is I've played this in Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is actually a better game. But there is something kind of oddly appealing about how... I don't even want to use the term bad, but how weird Friday the 13th is. I think it's just people who love Jason and put that vote in there. Because that's the only reason I can kind of guess why that's that high. But, yeah.
I just don't know.
Doesn't make sense, but that's why I love these brackets. Isn't always going to make sense. Coming in at number 6, which I absolutely love, is Super Castlevania 4. So it was the highest Castlevania game on this particular list. And I've said multiple times that's my favorite Castlevania game. It's apparently most people's favorite Castlevania game. So, not a shocker.
I'm surprised it beat Symphony of the Night a little bit.
Yeah, some people I think tend to jack off Symphony of the Night a little too much. It's a much deeper game, but I don't like that play style as much as I like just the straightforward elements of 4. So,
fair.
Number 5, Resident Evil 1. So, definitely happy it's up there. Wish it was a little bit higher, of course, because that's my personal bias, and that was my pick for number 1. And Jim, if we get to your pick, I don't even know what you picked. You can say what your pick is for number 1, unless we already passed it.
Todd in the chat just went, really that piece of shit to Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And I think I saved a screen cap of my overall winner, so I'm going to try and find that on my phone quick.
Okay. Number 4, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Of course, of the 16-bit era of co-op games, this is just the most well-known, most fun, and deserves to be this high for sure. Number 3,
yeah, definitely.
Number 3, Silent Hill. This one's a little interesting that it beat out Resident Evil, in my opinion. I know some people love the Silent Hill series more than Resident Evil. We've kind of gone over it a few times. But it's still one of those situations where, yeah, I don't know. I have bias for Resident Evil, but I'm shocked it's at number 3. Not shocked it's in the top 5. I would just swap where Resident Evil 1 and Silent Hill are, and I think it would make more sense. I don't know. What do you think about that, Jim?
I think, especially in this bracket, Resident Evil was competing against itself a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're different games, and Silent Hill really is a mind fuck, to put it lightly. So, I mean, it's a great horror game.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, and considering the fact that people, I guess it depends on what kind of play style you like more. So, I guess more overall, Resident Evil style, I guess, just judging by the votes for all the games. But for what it does, Silent Hill just does it so well. Yeah.
Number 2. The one we're both kind of shocked about, and the one I struggled if I was going to put in here, is Doom. There's no doubt Doom is an amazing game. Is it horror? Well, to me, the fact that you're going around and you see Marines' insides torn out all over the place, and you're going through hell and you're fighting demons. Sure, it's just a shooter, and you're clearly not scared of them, and it's not survival horror in any sense of the manner. I said, fuck it, I'll throw it in there. To me, it kind of fit the bill for horror, so not shocked it made it to number 2. I was afraid it was going to kind of throw the bell curve for the whole kind of bracket, which it did, because I think people more or less voted on what game they think is the best, not necessarily what they think is scariest or horror. But that's why I also don't give guidelines when it comes to voting. I'm not trying to suggest vote one way or the other, so...
Well, you know what? Screw those invisible imps. They scared the shit out of me when they surprised me.
Do you go poopy?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, the game can be scary. You go down the wrong hallway, and all of a sudden there's a homunculus shooting gigantic fireballs at you, and all these different hell spawns.
Definitely,
it's got the hard elements there.
Jump scare. Yeah, I looked at it, like I said, it was more like, oh man, the atmosphere and what you're dealing with, that's freaky. So I looked at it like that.
You know what game? You know what game does that with Doom is like Doom 64. It's a lot, because I think what takes away a lot of the horror away from Doom is the soundtrack, which, don't get me wrong, all-time soundtrack. But Doom 64 has like a more atmospheric kind of thing with like how it's a remake of original Doom. So that can show you how it can be a little more scary if you put the right music to it, really. Or the right sound engineering.
And number 1,
that aside,
not shocked in the very least, is Resident Evil 2. Widely regarded as potentially the best Resident Evil. It's debatable between that and some people pick 4, which I think is a little nutty. But regardless, 2 is a masterpiece. And although I have a ton of bias for the first one, I recognize in every sense of the word 2 is a much better game. There's all those different the 4 different ways really you can play it. The stories just expanded. The worlds expanded. There's more guns. There's just everything Resident Evil 1 did, but better. So, not shocked at all.
Yeah, no shock here.
So, Jim, what did you figure out? What did you pick as number 1?
I'm pretty sure I had the original Resident Evil as 1.
Jim, then me and you vote the same.
Oh my god.
That's one of the first times. No, well, we did it to beat 'em up.
Oh, yeah, but that was also that was more of a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah.
This could have gone a lot of different ways.
Yeah, once again, I'm really not shocked. I'm very curious to see how it competes when we get to the combined. The newer games with the older. Because, no spoilers here, but the new bracket, which is open right now, I'm sure Resident Evil 4 is going to be really high on a lot of people's list. We got Silent Hill 2, which is usually regarded as the best Silent Hill. So I expect that to go pretty high. We just have basically all the modern games. So, you have Outlast, you have Layers of Fear, you have Resident Evil 7, Alien Isolation. It's going to be very interesting to see how people vote based on old versus new. I don't know. Any predictions, Jim, with the current one that's going on? Who's going to take the gold?
That was a tough one. Probably one of the... I would probably guess one of the newer Resident Evils, to be honest with you. Will probably take it, but... Actually, you know what? No. I'm going to go with Silent Hill 2.
You think that's going to take it?
I think that's going to take it.
Wait, so you think it is going to take it or is not?
Is.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I think you're way off on. I think you were closer to saying one of the new Resident Evils. I feel like although a lot of people
it'll probably be 4. It'll probably be 4 because it's Resident Evil 4 and the way people love that game. But I don't know. I think you might be shortchanging Silent Hill 2 a little bit. Like
no. Silent Hill 2 is one of those games I actually kind of look at that as a little underappreciated. I feel like Silent Hill 2 came out, after... Did it come out after or before Resident Evil 4? I can't remember. But it's one of those games where I think there was a little bit too many of those survival horror games because of the PS1 era. I feel like, Resident Evil drove at home with the 3 games. Silent Hill had the 1 game. There was a whole plethora of games. I'm sure everyone saw them on this bracket. Martian, Gothic, D, all these friggin' survival horror games that had that same kind of tank control. So I feel like people were less willing to try and give Silent Hill 2 a chance than they should have. And with Resident Evil 4, it was so obvious, it was so different than those games. That's why it was so popular. Where Silent Hill 2 was like, okay, we did what we did in Silent Hill 1, but did it way better. So, I don't know. I would be shocked if that won. I'm going to go with Resident Evil 4 or maybe even Resident Evil 7. Because that game got, just like with me, I think it turned so many people back onto the fact that, yay, Resident Evil's finally going back to doing horror. I don't know.
Yeah, it has a chance. I would love to see a shock upset win like Eternal Darkness because it's such a cult classic, but I know not enough people played it that are going to vote it up.
You know what I'd love to see is actually... I think we've said this multiple times. Arguably, the most fun multiplayer game you can play is Left 4 Dead. Or Left 4 Dead 2.
Oh, yeah. Left 4 Dead was high up on my list.
Yeah. I mean, any other game doesn't compare to me. The amount of fun we had playing that.
Oh yeah, that's the most fun I've probably ever had playing multiplayer, either like couch or online.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's look at the bottom here. And actually, it's funny with the bottom of this bracket because it's the first time I think I've seen 0 votes for an entry.
So, Jim, I made the mistake of just closing this. So you go ahead and read off what the bottom is. So start with the, go from the top of the 5 down to the last one.
All right, so coming in at number 60, Bram Stoker's Dracula on the Sega Genesis. I
played it.
A great movie.
It's
kind of a crap game. Not awful, but
it's bad. The control's really bad. It's just the levels are kind of blah. It makes sense that it's pretty low.
Next up is Martian Gothic Unification on the PS1, which I've never heard of.
I'm shocked because that's a game that you actually widely regard as a really good game, but it's one of those situations where no one played it, so yeah.
Gotcha. Coming in at number 62 is The Seventh Guest on PC, or like I own it on the Philips CDI.
Dude, that I'm amazed. The number of people I talked to who were like, either that was their number 1 or it went really high on their list. I was like, how the hell did that not get higher than the bottom 5? I've played it.
That was such an important game for horror games, too.
It's so goofy. It's so, I don't know.
And for FMV, it started the FMV craze almost.
Yeah.
But, hey.
It is very goofy.
Relic, I guess.
It's very goofy, but yeah, I guess. I don't know.
All right, following up on that, Shadow Man for PS1 and N64.
Man, that was a game I looked at, and still to this day, I'm like, for some reason, I imagine, what was that movie that Billy Zane was in? The Phantom? When he was in, like, purple?
Oh, yeah.
So, for some reason, I thought the guy from Shadow Man kind of looked like him, but with, obviously, the skulls. It was kind of like Vin Diesel and Billy Zane combined. If that makes any sense.
Well, there must be a big Billy Zane fan out there to give it its only vote. And rounding it out with 0 votes. 0.
This is amazing.
Darkseid 1 on the PS1.
Dude, 0 votes is insane. Because we had, like Jim said, 2,100 votes on this. Now, one person could be like... And I pitted it against Darkseid 2, which Darkseid 2 was the game that, like... I'll be honest, I never played, but I'm very well aware of its popularity and whatnot. But it's one of those situations where I'm like, somebody's got to like Darkseid 1. Apparently nobody does. So, well, fuck that game, I guess.
Yeah. I never played either of them, so...
Yeah.
It didn't get a vote for me, I'll say that.
Well, you're not allowed to play games, so... Yeah, so thank you guys for voting. I hope you're going to continue voting as much as you did, if not more, for the second round. And like I said, the top 16 of this bracket are going to move on to the final bracket the week of Halloween. So we'll have to really get to see what's going to be voted as the best horror game ever.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait until the final bracket's ready and made to kind of throw out a guess as to what we think's going to win. But, yeah, I love doing this, obviously. This is my element right here.
Oh, I bet you're beating off as you're putting these together.
Damn it. Jim, that would distract me from putting together the list.
Yeah, but I'm not wrong, though.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, so now that we're done all the early shit, we can move on.
Jesus.
So the next one is something that we just saw today, similar to the bullshit that's going on in New Jersey. In PA, there is a tax. What would you call this? A beer tax that could be put in place. It was delayed a little bit, but it's still going to look like it's going to go into effect by July 19th. Let me open this up. Essentially, breweries right now don't do the 6% sales tax that they owe the state for direct sales of their beer. but that's going to change, and they're going to be forced to pay that, which could in turn mean that consumers are going to be forced to eat that cost. Obviously, there's a big fight back about this, and in PA, I believe from the article, which comes to us from breweries.pa.com, link below, I believe brewing is like the number one production, if you want to call it that, in PA. Like, we are the third largest craft brewery state in the United States, and it's a very big industry for us. And this, there's a big fear, is going to severely damage or hurt that, and it's going to cause all these brewers to charge consumers or potentially go out of business. Right off the bat, the other weird thing, other than the fact that there's a tax, there's this PA Beer Alliance, which is joining a lot of the bigger beer companies to try and push this tax bill through. And the PA Beer Alliance is more or less all the major distributors of like all beers that are just saying like, sure, like go ahead, push this through, because it will allow them to kind of reclaim some of the money lost to craft brewers who are selling it to individuals by themselves. So, with all that being said,
I'm sure the distributors hate the fact that people are going to go to these brew pubs to just sit down, have a good time, and try out the beer from this place directly from the cellar. Cuts into their bottom line. And I'm sure they have a lot of deep pockets with a lot of politicians.
Yeah, this is one, and it's similar to the New Jersey one, where it's a lot of conspiracy theorists are saying it's big beer. This article actually says it. I don't doubt it, but the way this sounds, because it is pretty substantial how much craft brewers are making. Now, there is a part of me, of course, that says, man, when you have something that's this big, and I said New Jersey has 88 brewers, PA has an ass ton, like well over 200 or 300. I forget how many. But there's a lot, and there's a lot that do ridiculously well. It's kind of the problem with any industry. If you do too well, you're going to start having to adhere to all those tax breaks that you were getting used to and that you loved. I don't agree with it, and I think it sucks because you are going to hurt the little guy or the smaller businesses, but it's kind of like, are they getting too big for their britches? So, Jim, I know you're Mr., want to be libertarian. So what's your take on this?
Let me do what I want, just don't touch my money. Look, if they were getting a tax break to help spark all this new business, it just makes sense that eventually they're going to come and slap the taxes on when they think it's either a sustainable business or it's too big for its britches, like you said. Now, if I'm going to put my Alex Jones hat on,
oh God,
then I can just... the globalists! The politicians are trying to kill small beer! The politicians! It's probably just... I wouldn't be surprised if someone higher up or a number of people know some big names in the distributors in the area, or maybe even some of the bigger old breweries that are taking a big hit on this, like maybe the Yinglings of the world. Not trying to besmirch my beloved Yingling, but it's possible. They're an institution, so you never know who's out there that could have a bug up their ass about this. So it could be anything, but I'm sure it just all comes down to the almighty dollar at the end of it, like anything else.
Yeah, and I would say do yourself a favor, read into this article if this is something that interests you. I read into a lot of these, like the actual bill itself, the letter that's being sent out to try and stop this, just what it means. The one interesting thing I saw, and I don't know if I read it right, but it's like, what would the true impact be of the cost? And I feel like this particular article kind of was blowing it out of proportion, like, oh man, you're gonna like have to pay 36 cents for every 12-ounce beer. But then I felt like something else I saw was like maybe it would be 6 cents. So I don't know what that really boils out to. I'll be honest, if a beer is 6 cents or 36 cents more, that's not going to make me all of a sudden stop going to a brewery that I really like. I don't know how you feel about that, Jim. Is that going to be a thing that's like, you know what, I was going to go try this small brewery, but 36 cents, fuck you.
Look, I don't go to these breweries or brew pubs expecting to get a deal. Like, the beers are expensive for the most part. So, if they're going to raise it a couple more cents, especially if I'm going to one I haven't been to before, I'm not going to know the difference anyway. So if it's, like $1, even if it goes up to $1, like, it's not that big a deal, honestly. Like, I know for me, it won't make me not try a beer. So maybe if I see that a beer is $11 instead of $10, I'll have some kind of weird mental block. But outside of something like that, it's probably not going to be as big of a deal as people think, as long as the prices don't go like astronomical. Like, if a brewery like has to charge 6 cents more and they go out of business because of that, there's more problems with the brewery than just this little tax.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, the one concern is, some breweries are talking like, well, we really wouldn't want to pass it on to a consumer. We'd want to try and eat it for you. To me, I'm like, pass it on. Like,
why? Yeah.
I respect it, but like Jim said, I don't. Other than the fact that if you get like a flight of beers, you're not exactly going to a craft brewery to get a deal on beer. Like, you're going to go there to try a bunch of their stuff, and you may find something you like, you may not. You might do a flight of beer, and if you really like something, you fill up a growler. You get your savings there, but if you're going there to just drink, you're not getting a deal in the long run.
Yeah, and there's also this, like, and I notice it a lot with craft brews, there's this like romanticism around it. Like, we're the little guy, we're taking on the big guy, we're going to take on the government, we're doing this for the love of the beer and for the love of the people who come here. At the end of the day, you're still running a business. Like, don't be a fucking dork about it. Like,
yeah.
If you have to charge a little more, charge a little more. Like, be smart. I'm sure the fans of the beer companies of your beer who really love your beer will come support you anyway. They might even support you more if they find out you're getting taxed. Like, put a banner up or something like that.
Yeah.
Do some marketing. Make it to your advantage.
And I will also throw out there, let's be clear. We read the article. We're not like super experts on this. So if we're missing the point entirely or we're missing the amounts, definitely you can call us out. But the thing I do want to say is that, how am I going to put this? If it truly is a situation that would affect these brewers from being able to open or whatever, I'm all about competition. I'm all about free market that allows you to do what you want to do. But honestly, if this weeds out some of the worst brewers, and let's be honest, there's a lot out there, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Hey, Brad, that sounds like when YouTube did their new monetization policy.
Oh, God.
But just to get back to your point, like for my actual job, like, God damn, my AC just turned on. Hopefully that doesn't translate over to the video, but for my actual job, like, I am aware of when new businesses are going in. So just in our small, within like 20 miles each way of where we live, I'm aware of like 4 or 5 breweries that are going up. Like,
yeah,
there's also a glut of it, and not all of them are going to be great. And this will probably hurt the little guys that are just starting out. So I'm going to feel for these guys, but it's going to be on them to prove that they're worth sticking around, really, too.
Yeah. Now, and my final closing for this. If this is really only coming up because of a push, as this site claims from Miller, Coors, Anheuser-Busch, and whatever, if it's only coming up really because of them and some political influence, then I'm completely against it, and that's horseshit. But if it's just the way of the world and these guys are making an ass ton of money and they're like, okay, guys, like, I would even be more okay if it's like some of the major, like Yingling, Weyerbacher, some of the ones that are making bank. If, like, it's based on, like, a amount of barrels sold a year, and then you get the tax. Like, so it still helps the little guy if you're not selling as many barrels per year. I could be fine with that.
So. Yeah, I'd be fine with that as well. I don't know. It's probably something shady, but even not so much shady. Politics in general sucks, so if it's a new rule that's coming down from some politician, I'm probably going to be against it no matter what.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. Once again, very good chance we're missing something or off the mark, but let us know if you...
Extremely good chance of that.
Yeah. Either way, we obviously are always in support of local, small dudes. I hope it truly doesn't affect you all. So let us know below. And finally, for our last beer topic and talking about beer prices, I'll try and keep this one significantly quicker. This was sent to us by one of our friends that beer prices could double because of climate change. And the synopsis behind this, and this is npr.org, is that with the increase in climate, it will severely affect the growth of barley, which when you brew beer, for those of you who don't know, the barley is obviously a huge thing used in food, but the barley that's used for beer is the higher grade, like better quality barley, and that has a premium and is super sensitive to how it needs to grow. If this is true and the climate change affects it, it just simply can't grow as much. So you could see your beer being twice the cost. So on top of getting taxed in PA, you could just have beer that's twice as expensive, which then it would doubly suck.
Nothing worse than an act of God to screw over your business.
When you're in an industry that's based on anything agricultural, I feel like you run the gamut and the risk of this happening. So,
yeah,
I don't like it, and I hope they figure out a way. And then there's obviously things being worked on to figure out how to get a better yield of barley and what to do in these situations. But either way, hope that doesn't come true.
Yeah, no, I agree there, because that would suck for all of us.
Alrighty, Jim, you put this next one up, so I'm going to let you explain it and talk about it.
It's kind of a moot point at this point. This was back when we were doing this every 2 weeks, but Switch Online started, and they announced the NES games, which this is weeks behind, so it's been out for a few weeks now, and they actually just put up their next batch of games. So, yeah, there's 23 games and a double of The Legend of Zelda with like a S special version or something like that. But it was a solid list. There was a lot of sports titles. There was Legend of Zelda. There were the Marios. There was River City Ransom. And yeah, I was just going to go over what's out there, but I think so many people either have it or have seen it. It's kind of a moot point to even talk about right now.
So let me ask you, is this similar
it's $20
to
a year, which isn't bad.
Is this the games with gold that you just get X amount of free game? Well, obviously not free, but you get X amount of games based on your subscription?
Yeah, like it remains to be seen if they start taking games off this overall NES list that they have up there. Like this is here's what you get for free for paying for Switch Online, basically. And I mean, say what you will about it. I mean, it's still bullcrap that they basically took something away that you had free for 2 years and go, you have to pay now. Here's some NES games. Like, that's crap. But
so does Switch Online include actual, like, other than these games, does it include the ability to play, like, multiplayer and have, like, the ability to talk to people and all the things you do on PS4 and Xbox?
Well, yeah, it allows you to continue doing it because you were able to do it before for free.
I thought you couldn't talk to people. I thought you had to download a stupid app in order to talk with people.
Oh,
playing multiplayer.
You still have to do that.
Oh. So
I think they revamped it from the... I think they revamped it from how it was with Splatoon 2, because I think that was a whole weird kind of mess with what you had to do to set up for that. I've never played Splatoon, so I don't know. But... yeah, you still need to have that voice app thingy to have party chat with your Switch games. Which at that point, why wouldn't you just use Skype or Discord or even a real phone call?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, this is just a service to allow you to get these free games. That's Nintendo. The best advantage.
It's this and cloud storage. That's what you get nowadays.
So
and the fact, like before, like if you know how much I play Rocket League, if I didn't purchase Switch Online, I wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Which I've been able to do for 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had it, and they took it away, and they said, "Ooh, pay us now." Like it's a dick move.
It's a dick move, but also it's the same deal as what we just talked about, kind of with the beer guys. Is that it's because of how popular Switch is, and I think they were going to keep it free if it was going to sell numbers like the Wii U, but obviously it didn't. So I think they're kind of like, well, we need to make more money because everyone's playing it now.
No, they kind of said from the start that they were going to implement it. It's just it took them a year longer than they were planning on for it to actually happen. But Here's my overall thing I'm going to say. It's old hat at this point, but if you're going to have a paid online service with your system, make sure it's ready at start. Don't give people 2 years of it and then take it away. If you're going to do that, either keep it free the whole goddamn time, or just do it from the start. Doing this is probably the worst way you could have possibly done it. Yeah. And I'm coming as a hypocrite here because I'm paying for it right now because $1.20 a month is, it's peanuts, but it's still the principle of the matter. But I still have to say, playing Tecmo Bowl online with buddies is pretty goddamn fun.
Yeah. I just hope for your sake, like you said, you can keep the games, download them to a hard drive or your SD card or whatever the hell Switch uses, and not just have it in the cloud and then it goes away when it's done, because that would suck.
No, it's in the cloud. It's in an app. It's in an app that has
that
a certain game library.
So then it'll definitely go away.
Yeah, some games will probably be cycled in and out, most likely.
Okay. Yeah, so like you said, it's a little old at this point, but that's interesting. And the only thing I would say is, what was that thing that that the Wii and Wii U used? Like, what was that store? The
Virtual Console.
So if you downloaded games from there, can they transfer over to your Switch?
No.
Not even
Nintendo's
like the NES titles?
No.
Oh, God.
One, there's no Virtual Console anymore to transfer over. And two, even with the Virtual Console system, it never talked between consoles. So if you bought a game on the Virtual Console on your Wii, it wouldn't show up on your Virtual Console on the Wii U or the 3DS. It never worked like that.
That's ridiculous. But
Nintendo's
whatever.
just, they've always been the worst with online. I don't know. How does the new Mario Party not have, robust online play? How do you just not say, 4 people online, let's play a fucking board game? How do you not have that?
So
God damn, they're so behind their... Why are they stupid assholes?
Let us know what you think about that, guys. But Jim, the one thing I did want to throw in there, and it's not on here, but did I see something that there's like a new version or a better version of Switch already going to be coming out?
There's a rumor for next year.
So would you say I was right when I said you probably shouldn't get that so soon?
Yeah, I mean, I even knew you were right, but I just wanted it, so I did it. I knew there was going to be an updated one eventually.
So you're saying you knew Daddy was right? I mean, you just said it, so I don't know why you're not saying it again.
I haven't said I was going to wait until a new one was out, but then I didn't want to wait, so I did it. So,
all right, I just wanted to make sure. Listen, Jim, I'm a guy who likes to get his facts straight, so...
You're a guy who likes to have your cake and rub it on your nipples while you beat off. That's what you are.
I mean, if it makes me right, sure. Yeah. So...
But yeah, that's all we have to say about Switch Online. Moving on.
Bringing this back, and I absolutely love it, because it's in the new... I've actually heard, legit news stations talking about this shit at this point. And to me, it's hilarious. Jim put this up here again, but Fortnite was cited in over 200 divorce filings. Now, what I will say is that's a little deceptive. It's obviously meant as a grab, but essentially it's just in a divorce proceeding, the word Fortnite was mentioned. Not saying that was the reason, but it was just mentioned during these divorce proceedings. And I think it's in the UK, right, Jim?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it was in the UK.
So this was from news.avclub.com. So, once again, the link will be in here. Just check it out. Yeah, I feel like video games in general, that should be the thing I would love to see. Just use the term video game. How many legit divorces happen because of video games? Fuck just Fortnite. Come on. World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Fortnite, Minecraft. It doesn't matter. Video games, I'm sure, have broken up many couples.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure all the big ones. Hell, even probably... You go from generation to generation. Probably Guitar Hero in the late 2000s probably broke up a lot of people. So, yeah, just whatever the big game at the time is.
Yeah. Not shocked. Fortnite is obviously the hottest game right now, so of course it's going to be the one that's talked about the most. But yeah, like I said, I would just say it's not just a Fortnite thing. It's all video games.
Oh yeah, easily.
Alrighty.
So yeah, moving on. Actually, Bri. So next up is going to be what we're playing right now. I'll let you start because I gotta pee.
So I wanted to throw this in here. Me and Jim don't have a ton of time to play games, but as a nice way to kind of let you guys know, like, well, here's what we're actively playing right now. And I don't mean in this exact moment, but I mean in the general, like, when we have free time. Jim's, I know, mentioned on Twitter, and if you're watching this on Twitch right now, I'm sure you're seeing. I am playing we're both playing Black Ops 4, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't know how other people are, but I'm really liking it. But another game I've been playing around with a good amount is this game called Zombi, and it was Zombie U on the Wii U, I believe, or Wii. I can't remember which one. It's a very interesting zombie game. It's one of those permadeath ones, and you basically are just trying to survive. The main mission is... It's kind of convoluted, but you're in the UK, and essentially... There's like this random guy that can help you unlock CCTV TVs around London, and you take the sewers as shortcuts. It's just a pretty solid first-person shooter zombie game that puts so much on the survival element that it makes the game a lot more intense. Like, you cannot take on more than two... Like, if you take on 2 zombies, that would be good. If you take on more than that, your chances of survival are very slim. And there's a slight RPG element that as you use a character, upgrade them with a weapon, you earn points and you get more proficient with it, but if that person dies, then that goes away. So that's the kind of the 2 main games I'm playing. I know for Jim, at least one game he can say, just like me, is Black Ops 4. So I'll wait till he gets back for him to say if he's playing anything else at this point.
Nah, I've been playing Black Ops 4, and actually Todd in the chat had a good point with the fact that Zombie that you're playing right now, that was actually Zombie U on the Wii
that's
U.
what I
It was
said.
like a launch title. Oh,
Yeah.
did you? Alright, I missed that part.
Yeah.
And actually, I just picked up Zombie U because it's like $2 at GameStop right now.
God
so.
damn it, Jim. Just
What,
get it
$2?
for Xbox and play the good version, because that's the one thing I've heard
$2.
is that the control scheme on the Wii is terrible for that game.
Well, I guess I'll be finding out then, won't I?
No, you won't, because you won't even play it.
Well, I'll dabble.
So what else are you playing?
But yeah,
right
besides that, obviously, I've been playing a shitload of pinball games for this retrospective that I've been doing on all of my collection.
now? You can't see that I'm shaking my head.
Right? Don't you dare.
Oh, I'll dare.
Look, these are games that I was never gonna have you sit down and like talk about, and
You are
they're
goddamn
impossible
right.
to do and they're impossible to do our long form videos on these ones anyway. So to get them up there, these are ones that I can put together a 6-minute video on, easy enough.
Yeah.
But outside of that, still just dicking around with my Switch for the most part. So besides Black Ops 4 when I can, so either I'm playing Rocket League or I'm going through Super Mario Odyssey still when, I'm feeling that. Or Sonic Mania. I was playing Sonic Mania for a while as well.
God damn it, Jim.
Sonic Mania is goddamn good.
Did you even beat your Legend of Zelda on your wasted system?
No, I did not.
So the only game you got that was worthwhile getting that system for, you haven't even played or beat.
No, I got it for a couple games, but yeah, I never beat that one. Look, that was my Mario Kart machine until it came out on the Switch.
God damn it.
It's my Hyrule Warriors machine. And I haven't bought it on the Switch, and I won't buy it on the Switch. So it's my Hyrule Warriors machine.
I hate you, Jim.
Or for playing old Wii games.
All right. So, Jim, this is you. This is your bit, the wacky item review. So, what is this one you posted? And I think randomly I saw this somewhere else, and I was like, ooh, this should be a thing. And I think I saw you throw it on there. I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, did I send you the picture ages ago? Because I'm having a bitch of a time finding it right now.
I think you did, but, I mean, you can just try and describe it the best you can.
Alright, so Apparently, it also came out in the United States, but the one I saw was from like this ad in Germany, and it was this gigantic set of like it was like almost imagine the Road Warriors from wrestling, Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them. Imagine their shoulder pads, but instead of spikes, you have two speakers that are just pointed almost directly at your head. And from what I saw, and apparently from what someone said online, it was like almost like styrofoamy in there completely. I guess to keep it lightweight, which makes sense. And yeah, you just have two speakers blowing in your ears. I have no idea how good the sound design is on them, but it looks like it's almost like a weird BDSM kind of thing. It's so wacky. It screams early '90s to me.
Yeah, I mean,
so as soon as I saw it, I was like, I love this.
The fact that you said Road Warriors should hit on what I was going to say. They're goofy as shit. Is another one I would be amazed to know. I wish we could have numbers of like how many of these were actually sold.
I know. Like, I had a bitch of a time. Like, I was even putting in the German name for it, and maybe that wasn't even the name because I don't speak German. I actually found it and sent it to you right now, but like this ad's hilarious. Like, it has a typical Aryan-looking kid, so blonde hair, blue eyes, a spaceship in the background, this goofy-ass speaker setup surrounding his head, and it does have, like, two pointing things coming out of it. So it's like Legion of Doom meets a spaceship around your neck. It's wacky as hell. And he's playing a PlayStation controller, so it must have been from the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dronug, Sandkrugen für Vollen Rammelkran. I don't know what that means.
Don't try to speak German, Jim.
Right, I think I just did it perfectly, and I think any German fan of ours will agree. Much the way the Japanese fans love my accent.
Damn it, Jim. Oh, I'm getting fucking smoked in this game. All right. All right.
But yeah, in our clips, we'll have the picture down there so people will be able to see it.
Well, you son of a bitch. Why don't you read off this which is better? You keep trying to get me, and I keep thinking you're failing terribly. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, why did I put this one against this one? So
yeah,
I know which one you're going to go against. So yeah, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. So which is better, Resident Evil 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2? And I know what the answer is going to be.
Jim, what do you think my answer is going to be?
Of course, the goddamn answer is going to be Resident Evil.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind Modern 2, but you can't compare to Resident Evil.
Yeah, what the hell is that? Man, I'm fucking stupid. Oh, I was having a brain fart that day. I could have done something way better.
Could you?
Give me some time. I'll eventually come up with something.
Yeah. You come up with terrible ones. So the idea was we usually like to, for those of you who don't know, we like to come up with these ones where it's really tough for us to pick which one we think is better. And he chose just the easiest layup one possible, so.
Yeah, here's what it is. So, yeah, that bit went over great. What the hell was I thinking that day? Was I drunk?
I don't know, but this is one, unless you absolutely hate horror, I would love to know someone who's like, no, man, Modern 2 is way better than Resident Evil 2.
Probably all the Modern or the Call of Duty fanboys who still cried that they need to remake Modern 2.
Yeah.
With every single game that comes out. Oh, speaking of, real quick on Call of Duty, how dead was your early release?
What do you mean?
Like, you remember how when we all used to get together to do these, and we'd go to a GameStop like 4 hours early, and there'd be a game truck outside, and food trucks, and a line around the corner, and people were just hype. And yeah, I pulled up, I walked in, got my game, and walked out. And there's like, not even a line.
I mean, there's a little bit of a. I mean, don't be so insincere. There was a clear reason.
We're 10 years later too.
Well, no. Also, the sales have done. Apparently, they've actually even broken records from Call of Duty games. So sales are doing fine. The thing is, they allowed people to get the game at 8:00. So that's really the reason why I think it wasn't anything like we were used to. I still had a line of about 10, maybe 15 people in front of me by the time I got there, and I got there like, they said you could get there at 8, so I probably got there like 8:05 or 8:10.
Yeah.
So, I think that's I think that's a really good idea, and I think it makes sense because if they're worried about the whole midnight thing, they can just do that from the server standpoint. However, they didn't do it from a server standpoint. They actually had it live from
which
the
was
get-go.
surprising.
Shocking to me. So I'm happy that they did it. I hope they do it for future ones. As much as we obviously every year did the midnight release, and it was fun to like go bowling and drink a good amount before. It's nice to get the game a little earlier and get some more playtime, and especially when you have to download. I still don't know why you had 250 gig downloads. I didn't have that. I only had one, but. Whenever you just have to download a game that's many gigs, forget the update. It's crazy to me that you get a game at 12 and you can't really play it till 1 or whatever it is. So
yeah, well, I mean, there is that one. What was it? Was it Infinite Warfare that we got at midnight, but none of us were able to play it until 4 a.m.
Yeah, and I think that was just server issues, not even so much the download issue. So.
Download took a fucking long time, but yeah, the servers too. Oh boy, I'll give them credit this time. The servers worked at launch, so good for them.
And this game, as I was saying while you were gone, I'm enjoying the shit out of it. I've played the zombie modes, really fun. The regular multiplayer is really fun, and the best thing about the multiplayer, and I was telling this to our friend Eric, is I love the fact that it's one of the most balanced Call of Duties I've played, where there's no clear, one gun or one setup that seems to be dominant. It's you can kind of be anything and be okay, assuming you know how to do it. Everyone's not running snipers. Everyone's not running submachine guns. It's the most interesting mix. And as far as specialists, there's no specialist ability that's oh my god, that fucking thing, they have that. It's going to kill everyone. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like the fact, too, that you can have more than one specialist type per team, so it forces you to have all the different play styles, which is actually really cool.
Yeah.
It's smart. Bounces out. So you don't have, 5 of the same specialists. That's clearly the most broken one.
Sure.
Looking at you, Advanced Warfare.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, they threw me into a game where it's losing bad. So that and Blackout mode, obviously, I've said many times, it's a very flushed out, better version of PUBG, and I really like that. So, of course, I'm all about that.
It's PUBG without the epilepsy.
Yeah. So, all right. So, moving on to which is better from our buddy Kit. Movies based on games or games based on movies? And this is an interesting one because, so I'm thinking movies based on games. The only one I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's ones I'm missing, I didn't mind the Resident Evil movies, but in all fairness, other than the names and some of the some of the villains in the movies, there wasn't a huge tie-in. Yeah, the characters, but it was more characters in name only. It wasn't an actual, it's the game. It's oh, sure, there's Nemesis, but those were probably the better examples. There's obviously... Alone in the Dark did terrible. The Blood Rain did terrible. Max Payne did terrible.
All the Uwe Boll ones. Yeah.
Silent Hill did terrible. House of the Dead.
That movie sucked. Anyone who says Silent Hill is a decent movie can suck my ass. I saw that in the goddamn theater. I'm burning! God, that movie was bad.
What's funny is... House of the Dead 1, I thought, really sucked. House of the Dead 2 was so bad, but somehow entertaining that I actually don't mind that one as much.
I've never seen either of them.
But yeah, so I think it's
and then you have the nostalgia ones like Street Fighter and Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, which are, if you're being objective, they're terrible movies, but we love them because they're nostalgic. Mortal Kombat is probably the best example of... The
first Mortal Kombat's a decent movie on its own. It's a decent popcorn flick. Annihilation's hot garbage, but I'd say probably the first Mortal Kombat movie is the best video game movie of all time.
And in general, I would say most.
What about
of the
Assassin's Creed? How that bombed? Woo, lordy.
Well, the problem with that is they fucking throw a budget like they did at it and had Michael Fassbender, so they had to spend even more coin on a movie they really should not have made. But that's whatever.
Yeah, it didn't even do good in China like World of Warcraft did.
In general, I think it's so much more obvious that it seems the perception that movies based on games do a lot worse. Whereas games based on movies, you have obviously the LJN era, which everyone hates on for the NES. Most of the movie adaptation games were shit, but as we found out from a lot of them, they're not good by many stretch of imagination, but a lot of them aren't that bad. And then newer titles, they're just as poorly thrown together. So this is really tough. I don't know what is worse because I'm trying to think of a really good example of a movie, of a game based on a movie that was like really, really well done. And I'm
Batman
drawing
Returns
a blank.
On the SNES.
Yeah, but that's another similar one. I guess we'll count that as one. Other than the name for me, it's like it really had nothing to do with the movie. So
it had cutscenes. It had scenes from it just recreated. It had to flesh it out, but
yeah, I don't know.
Because I mean, in this day and age, games based on movies are all dog shit. But I mean, people back in the 8 and 16-bit era, there were some that were pretty good. I'm blanking right now, though.
That's what I'm trying to think. Like, okay, so the Batman is a good example. It's if you want to say like the Lego Avengers game, like, but all Lego games are kind of good. It's tough. I would probably say that games based on movies are a little better, just because there's so many more than I think the other way. And as we just tried to mention, like the other way, it's so few and far between of anything that's even okay for a movie based on a game. I'll go games based on movies.
Yeah, me too. Especially for the fact that Universal Soldier is a game based on a movie, and so.
Damn it, Jim.
It's actually not. It's just it's a butcher of Turrican, but God, I love that game.
That game's so terrible, though. Just kidding.
It is not terrible. You've never played it, you fuck.
We did play it.
You never played it.
Yes, I did.
When did you play it?
When did I play it? I think it was one of the times I was busting our balls about, and I was like, let me give it a try. And it's okay. It's not great. But then again, most games you like aren't that great, so. Yeah, so no, thank you, Kit. I really do like that, and I think this is one I may even want to consider coming back to, because I really want to give it more thought. I want to think, like, man, what's the best movie-based games? You actually may have given me a thing for a bracket, Kit, so thank you.
I was just about to say, that's a bracket idea.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll do brackets for movie-based games, and, obviously the opposite. All right. This one's a little odd, Jim. So I wanted to throw something a little different at us for overrated, underrated. So
I just looked at this and I'm like, what the hell?
Let me explain it. For overrated, underrated, I said the Mario star. And what I mean by that is in every Mario game and every variant and whatnot, there's the star that makes you invincible. As a power-up. Is it overrated or is it underrated? I wanted to throw, like I said, I just wanted to throw something a little different in there. And I was just like, man, instead of just saying a game or a series, let me throw a power-up. So here's my deal with that power-up, is that it is obviously OP. It's crazy. You're just invincible and you do whatever. In Super Mario, when I think of power-ups, I always go Super Mario 3 as an example of like a game with amazing power-ups, a ton of power-ups. I feel like it's too obvious and too on the nose of a power-up. It's like the Superman of power-ups. And it's kind of like it doesn't take skill to, when you get it, and you just do what you need to do. There's no skill element in using the star. Like, I feel like with everything else, like, you gotta learn how to use the fire ability. You got the Tanuki suit, the leaf, the the stars just run and do your thing, and it doesn't last long enough to be super awesome. Lasts just long enough to get you through maybe a little bit of annoyance. So I'm actually going to go Overrated. Now, it's definitely crazy powerful when you have that version in Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, and it's annoying as shit. But it still kind of feeds into my thing of it takes no skill, because once you get it, it's just, oh, okay, do whatever you want. So, yeah, that's why I'm saying it's overrated as a power-up. It's kind of underthought and super obvious. It reminds me more of like what you would expect a cheat to be than a power-up. So what do you think, Jim?
For the simple fact alone that you're calling one of the best items in all of gaming overrated, I'm going to say it's underrated. And, I mean, it's a perfect power-up. It does its job. It's a perfect power-up. It does its job. It's simple.
Too perfect.
It's to the point.
That's kind of the point.
Here's one. How many freaking power-ups in games have a jingle that's as memorable as the song for that?
The song's good. I'll give you that. It's just you're invincible and move faster. Like, okay, obviously. Like I said, I'm not debating if you want to say what's the most powerful or what's the most useful. I'm not going to argue those points, but it's kind of like I said, it's like Superman. Well, what are we going to give it? Just do everything. Okay. I definitely don't dislike it, but yeah, a little overrated for me.
I just would love to know the time when you're playing a game and you're just like, this invincibility is kind of boring.
Well, whenever I have something that's way too, I enjoy it in the short term, but especially when I replay games, and especially if I'm trying to like do it based on skill or whatnot, it's obvious that that's going to be one that can make a game. It's kind of like the blades in Mega Man. When you get those, the game's broken. Like in Mega Man 2, you're like, okay, well, I just basically beat the game. It might not work on every boss, but at the end of the day, you don't really have to do much. Like you just keep spamming. But the stars
don't break the game, though.
No, and I know it doesn't, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like it would actually be more awesome if you could, like in Super Mario 3. If you had the choice of when you want to use a star, so you could absolutely use it on the points that are really annoying and you want to get it through, then it would become an even more useful thing versus just it randomly shows up.
Yeah, but then that'll make it even more broken than it already is.
Yeah. Like I said, I know I'll probably be in the minority on this one, but I just, yeah.
Knowing our fan base, I'll be in the minority again, somehow.
Because you're always wrong, Jim.
Incorrect.
I mean, I don't know. Like you said,
they just love to see me rage. I'm like the DSP of this goddamn channel.
Damn it, Jim. You're just a blub blub.
DSP is also a blub blub.
Oh, I don't really know him, So yeah, love to know if you guys think. I have ideas now because I thought of this one of other like power ups or weapons. So yeah, if you guys have any you want to throw at us, get our opinion on, would love to hear it. Sometimes it's fun to break away from just saying like a game.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, Jim, and the final one, and it's kind of good because it's what's going on right now. I'm trying not to say what's your favorite horror game, although it's probably what's going to boil down to. Essentially, I'm just saying, like, hey, are there any games you play that kind of get you in a more of a, like, Halloween mood? It could even be a game that might have a horror section and you really love. But, yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Well, I mean, if I'm in a mood to, like, sit down and really just, like, binge on some Halloween movies, there's really no better game for that than Zombies Ain't My Neighbors because it has all the tropes in there, especially all the classic ones. Like, I don't know, when it comes anymore to Halloween, like, when I think about my childhood, it would be the marathons on AMC of all the old Universal horror movies. So your Frankensteins, werewolves, Creature from the Black Lagoons, blah, 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 blah. So that's basically an homage to all that shit. So when I think Halloween and I think to what I think of as Halloween after getting a crap load of candy and vegging out, it'll probably be Zombies Ain't My Neighbors.
Okay. No, that's pretty solid. Yeah, for me, and it's been a tradition since starting this site, and it's been really kind of building up, but it's Castlevania games.
Hentai? Oops, sorry.
God damn it, Jim.
Oops.
Yeah, no, it's Castlevania games. I mean, obviously, I'm really loving Friday the 13th. It's just a fun horror game. But for some reason, around Halloween time, there's something about, like, you know, and I'm a huge horror fan in general, so like you said, the classic monsters, like I need to go and kill Dracula one more time. So, yeah, that's kind of usually my go-to to get me in the biggest Halloween mood, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense there.
So, well, guys, this has been basically a power hour and a half, and it's because we've been backed up, and hopefully, even if we have to do it like this, it's not our preference, but if we have to do it like this, I would rather do it like this than wait this long again. So, if you guys have any topics, ever want to ask us anything, feel free. We're pretty easy to get a hold of. So, thank you all for listening, whether you're listening on iTunes, watching on YouTube, watching one of our mini clips, whatever you're doing, we appreciate all your support. And as always, guys, cheers.
Cheers.